It is time for today's Speed Round, brought to you by Verizon, the official 5G network of the NFL. And Peter King, let's start right there. When and how does it end for Urban Meyer in Jacksonville?
It ends based on performance on the field, unless Urban Meyer does something stupid again, like he did last Friday in Columbus, Ohio. Mike, you don't get fired because you went out to a bar and you did a couple of inappropriate things. That's not, in my opinion, those were not fireable offenses.
Correct. You get fired for abandoning your post. You get fired for not going back to Jacksonville with your team. You get fired for not busting your ass every day like every other NFL head coach does. That's what you get fired for.
Here's the point. All right? I think it's absurd that he didn't fly back with his team. Somebody in that organization should have said, you can't do that. You got to fly back with your team. You wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning, you take a private plane to Columbus and do whatever you want to do in your 3-day-long weekend or whatever it is. I agree. It was a dumb thing to do. It's not a fireable offense. It just isn't. Those two things combined do not mean that you ought to get fired.
Well, I think time will tell. If he's lost his locker room, and Michael Silver's reporting has been very aggressive on this point, that he has essentially lost the locker room, that's a problem. And the other side of it is this. When he shows up for work on Monday and he's chagrined and he's questioned and he says things, what did he say about doing whatever it was that he was doing? What version did he give? And will any eventual investigation that may be conducted by the Jaguars, either openly or discreetly, confirm the accuracy of what he said or debunk it? Those are things that remain to be determined. Peter, I think there's a chance that he won't be flying back from London with the team, depending upon how these next two games go. And a lot of it's on the players, as he said, kind of ironically, but also accurately. It's on the players. If they come together and they stop this 19-game losing streak, yes, 15 of them don't stick to Urban Meyer, but all 19 of them stick to Shad Khan and the organization, they could become only the third team in NFL history to lose 20 in a row. If they get outclassed and embarrassed by the Titans, that's not good. And then they pack it up and they go to London to play the Dolphins. If they get outclassed and embarrassed there, that's not good. You've got all the other stuff that may be gurgling in the background. It could be over as soon as 10 days from now. It could be.
I mean, hey, Mike, you know what? I could be 69 years old, but I'm not. I'm 64.
I mean, look, I'm just
let's
telling
see.
you, Peter,
let's see what happens.
Peter,
a lot.
when does this
I
ever
understand
happen?
That.
When did a coach ever not fly back with his team?
Leaves, but yeah, I understand you are reading the tea leaves, but the bottom line is we'll see what happens. I don't think even 2 bad losses get him fired. I mean, it's just. I mean. We knew. Everybody knew. What did you think at the beginning of this year? All right. I thought that the Jacksonville Jaguars were going to go about, 3-14, something like
Vegas
that.
Vegas had him at 6.5 over under 6.5. Whoever bet the under on that's already spent their money.
That's because they're excited about Urban Meyer and Trevor Lawrence. And Trevor Lawrence in the first 3 games of the year had multiple interceptions in each game. And Urban Meyer, what did Vegas have the first year of Jimmy Johnson in 1989? I don't know what he had. But Jimmy Johnson and Troy Aikman, I doubt they had him with an over-under of 1 win. And that's what they won. The Jaguars stink. They stink. And, to make this like, oh, my God, if they lose by 20 each of the next 2 weeks, there's a good chance he's getting fired or whatever it is.
But it's not because they're bad, Peter. It's just another factor. It's another factor. It's another log on the fire.
It is a log on the fire, but I don't think Shad Khan looks at it that way. I just don't. He's the only log that matters.
I look at the possibility of a couple of blowouts being the end because it just shows that he has lost the team if it happens. That's the point. It's not that they stink. Of course they stink. It's that they're not responding to a guy that they don't trust and respect.
Could they lose by 20? Could they lose by 20 if they're trying valiantly? The Jacksonville Jaguars they lost by 16 to the Houston Texans, an expansion team. I mean, could they lose by 20 in any week? Yes, absolutely, unequivocally. I don't think, how do you know it means that he's lost the team? And what exactly does that mean? A guy whose future is dependent on how he plays on Sunday is going to go out and half-step it and give it 45% because he wants to see Urban Meyer fired? That's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
We call this the speed round. We never specify what speed we're operating at. So this is slow speed round today. When and how does it end for Big Ben in Pittsburgh, Peter?
You know, Mike, I think he plays this year and they play him through the course of this year until and if the Steelers are way out of it. And then at the end of this year, I think Mike Tomlin basically says, I'm going to take a look at my two co-number 2 quarterbacks, and I have no idea what you would call Haskins and Rudolph right now. But I think at some point you owe it to your organization when you're out of it. And, you know, a couple more bad losses, and we're going to be closer to that than they are to contention. But I think it ends when they are significantly below 500, don't have a chance to make the playoffs, and then Mike Tomlin sees what he has for next year.
Yeah, here's my theory, and I've been pushing this all year long. The moment that they acknowledge it's time for Ben to take a seat, they're never going to bench him. And it's funny, I saw some breathless reporting yesterday. The Steelers won't bench Ben Roethlisberger. Yeah, Mike Tomlin said it the other day. Don't sell me. Oh, the sources say they're not going to bench. He said it. He said it. We're not going to bench him. They won't bench him, Peter. They'll put him on injured reserve. He's got hip issues. He's got a pec issue. He's got this. He's going to have more because he's going to keep getting hit. They will put him on injured reserve. It will end with a whimper, and he'll never come back again, except for maybe, I was looking at the schedule, if they're out of it, and if the Browns already have their playoff spot nailed down, Week 17, Monday Night Football, Browns at Steelers. It could be almost like a Joe Montana one last hurrah. Remember that game against the Lions, Monday Night Football, late in 1991? Bring him back for one last hurrah. If he's willing to do it, that may be what happens. But I think that he ends up on injured reserve as soon as after next Sunday night's game against the Seahawks if they keep losing. Last one real quickly. When and how does it end for Russell Wilson with the Seahawks?
I'm unconvinced that this is it for him. I really am. Because to me, I think the way Pete Carroll thinks is that as long as I have Russell Wilson as my quarterback, as long as that happens, that we are going to have a chance. The minute we get rid of Russell Wilson and go into full rebuilding mode, that's when we get into 6-11-ville. And I do not want to live in 6-11-ville. Now, I'm not saying that Russell Wilson won't force his way out, which he very well could do. But in my opinion, it ends in Seattle if and when Russell Wilson either forces his way out or when Pete Carroll says, I can make more out of the 3-1s that I'll get for him than I can with a quarterback who's really unhappy to be here.
Well, and looming over it is the fact that his contract will be up for renegotiation soon. He played hardball with them the last time and got close to top of market. Well, the market has changed since then. That's going to be part of it. How much do we have to pay him to keep him happy versus what can we get for trading him? And he's not happy. And the defense is horrible. And maybe we need to do a full rebuild. And maybe now, you know, nobody knows who's really calling the shots above Pete Carroll. At some point, they turn the page on Pete Carroll if this defensive performance continues to be as bad as it's been. I think this is it for Russell Wilson. I think he'll be somewhere else next year. Maybe the Giants, who knows? I think he'll be somewhere else next year. All right, let's take a break. Coming up, it's the Week 5 Show Me Something draft. Pro Football Talk is brought to you by Verizon, the official 5G network of the NFL.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.